Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the CIRF Report, Collective Influence Report and Forecast, where we use various methods to predict what energies you're going to feel and how best to handle those. This is for the week of the 7th through the 13th of July 2022. And it's dubbed Control Goes to the Next Level. Called United We Stand. And that's appropriate because if you look at our summary slide for the influence, the I-Ching stars, and the I-Ching this week is eye-watering, literally, for me, and I'll show you that later when we get to the solution slide. But in the influence, the I-Ching says we're gathering together, and as an influence, this means either something happens to where we just automatically gather together, or we are together collectively, just sort of the natural reaction of someone trying to get more control is you're going to have resistance. Duh. And that's this gathering together. But it is supported in the astrology because you got Venus trine Saturn, and we'll discuss that a lot more. But this is our gathering planet, Venus. It's a together planet. It's a relationship planet. And so anytime you see gathering together, you really do look at where Venus is. It's in a trine, and Saturn poses some other influences. But from an Aquarian standpoint, Saturn is in Aquarius. It's very Aquarian. So ironically, there's an individualistic kind of a component, but also the collective good in there as well. And then, of course, the big news this week, it's at the end of the week, it's the full moon in Capricorn, so goal-oriented, and then Pluto is right there. So gathering together is as you're going to see with this gathering, it is a part of the control paradigm, the control continuum, if you will. So power and control is Pluto, and it's conjunct a full moon, which is behaviorally a very unpredictable energy. It creates unpredictability in a lot of people. But we do know, because it's Capricorn, that it's maybe either giving up goals or seeking goals. So there's another continuum. So if Pluto is the control continuum, the moon is the emotional, but Capricorn moon is more of the goal-oriented continuum. And we got other things, a reminder that you got Uranus over North Node. We have tons of squares this week. We got a grand air trine and a grand water trine. That sounds really cool. And we'll go through all that. The DreamBot, that one's interesting. We'll start with that one, but the hunter becomes the hunted, maybe? I don't know. There's a pursuit theme in there. There's a police theme. And that's definitely overlapped with the astrology. Very similar to the gathering together, but it doesn't seem like we're gathering together. It's not the same title, but it's the same strain and same sourcing. So very similar overlap. This one, the DreamBot, is overlap more with the full moon. With pursuit is a goal-oriented behavior, and it is conjunct Pluto. So you got both because it's a control. Pursuit is a sort of a control there, power and control. But the gathering together is more of just the full moon. And so there is an overlap, and the overlap is goal-oriented, power and control. Surprise, surprise. All right, let's get started. All right. And the comment section this week is a shout out to all the folks on Rumble, because you're making this more of a shift. There's more comments over on Rumble than on YouTube. Thank you, YouTube, for all the comments. But our winner this week is not for me to say. Who is over on Rumble got 4 Rumbles on the reply. So feeling grateful for growth, stretching and serving others. You guys are amazing. Happy Surf Day. Happy Surf Report Day. And if you're watching this on what is today? The 6th? Today's the 6th. So if you're watching this on Wednesday the 6th, happy Surf Report Day. Hope everyone had a great, phenomenal July 4th Independence Day. I sure did. All right. So the DreamBot, let's start there. Just one main theme, and that is pursuit, suspect. There's a word police high up there. The top word is entity. Entity is, can be multiple things, but it is obviously part of this pursuit continuum. So you can't just be pursuing nothing. It's an entity. And then there's a strain with like unusualness. I thought there was, alien. Alien is in here. And then there's an aggression in here, shoot, and fighting. So there's an aggressiveness in it, and it's police, and it's following and moving. So there's a lot of movement, a lot of pursuit, a lot of negative aggression in it. And so anyway, I thought, well, maybe this is just me, exaggerating my hope, but maybe the hunter becomes the hunted. Who knows? We will see shortly. Let's get into the astrology. So we're looking at this band here in between the vertical lines. And I want to point out here, because we may not get to it, there's just so much to talk about in the astrology. I mean, once you see these diagrams, like, holy cow, lots of different energies. And that's why it's important to do the triangulation, in my opinion, in these surf reports, is because there is so much conflicting energies. It just feels like it's all over the place. So the benefit of the surf report is to just one main energy. What is it all going to feel like when you put it all together? So one of those influences is Neptune sextile Pluto. And I went and looked this up. You've got Neptune and Pluto in retrograde right now. So they're both moving apparently backwards. And this is a very powerful dream energy. So we have access, that's the sextile, you have access to, and you have an opportunity for powerful dreams. And so be looking for those. And you have that until December 2023. These are two very slow planets moving in the same direction. And so this energy stays there for a long time. We're talking a year and a half. So for the next year and a half, this is a time of very powerful dreams. Okay, some other things. Next surf report, you're going to see Venus and Mercury moving into new signs. Sun at the latter part of July, moving into Leo. And then this week we have another sextile. This one is easy change. It's an opportunity for insight, invention, and you can invent your ego. Your ego can rise. This is an opportunity for change, for ego. Good opportunity. And it's just this week. If you notice here, it goes exact halfway in the week. So over the weekend, it'll go exact. We've got Venus trine Saturn. I mentioned that before. It goes exact on the 13th. We're going to talk about its energy all the way through. And in fact, it's going to be one of the primary, other than the full moon. This one is the next highest energy. It goes exact near the full moon. So they are happening. But the Venus trine Saturn is starting its 8-degree orb right at the offset with a grand Earth trine, as you're going to see. Not much else, but a lot of squares. Okay, and so those are going to be mostly with the moon. As you can see right here, it's not a T-square, but 2 squares off the moon on day 1. This is Thursday the 7th, but we can see it also makes a grand air trine. So I've got these points circled. And So let's just start. You've got the relationship planet Venus in Gemini, and it's able to harmonize and simplify. And I say simplify because you've got this trine, easy energy over to Saturn in Aquarius. And Saturn in Aquarius is just, the way it is, but the raw truth, uh, a status quo of disclosure and transparency, but it's reality as well. And so you get a face full of reality with Saturn and relationships. Easy to see reality happening, but also it simplifies it. In that there's sort of a hardship. There's a sense of hardship with Saturn, and this makes relationships face what's just important and what's real, and that's the benefit of Saturn. One of the many benefits of Saturn. And then you've got the moon in Libra, so it's a balancing of emotions. There's an era of emotional want and desire for justice and fairness. And that's our grand air trine. It's very pleasant, but meanwhile there's the ancillary, or the outside of the zodiac, is much more conflicted and pressured with all these squares. We'll go through those next. Just a reminder where we left off from the last CIRF report. You've got Mars that just went into Taurus. So things get a lot less conflicted, and a lot more, well, you still have the bullheaded nature of Mars, so you can get stuck on a project or a task. However, you have the energy to carry it out, but it's hard to get started. I think that's the biggest sluggishness of Taurus, and so if you can manage to get started, then Mars now has the benefit of staying on that task. So anyway, welcome to this CIRF report, week with the grand air trine, but then that quickly diminishes. But what's left behind from that, and this is going to be applicable all week, I'm going to hammer this home, is Venus trine Saturn all week. And so now we're looking at, just inside of 8 degrees orb. And with how fast Venus moves around here, that's going to tighten up pretty quickly. Some other mentions. The biggest square here that I can think of is Mercury, which is going to enter a combust here pretty soon this week. Mercury square Jupiter. And this, we talked about this with the ego last week, was the ego is separated from positivity and optimism. So it sort of felt pessimistic, especially in Cancer already, sort of a complainer, kind of a complainer, can easily see the negative side of things. It's more of a Pisces thing. But when you got Sun square Jupiter, it can have that same pessimistic flavor, but now it's the mind. So maybe it's not the ego feeling pessimistic, but your thoughts. Hard to find positivity this week. They are going exact here pretty soon. And then you've got Uranus and North Node. Is probably be my last mention of that. But it's very important because meanwhile, while the future is turning much more individualistic and freedom oriented and mad scientist and revolutionary breakthrough and just revolution in general, this is our future. A slow planet of Uranus is only, about 3 degrees away from exact. So it's not going to get right over the North Node anytime soon, but it's technically within a conjunction. So that energy is getting stronger and stronger, staring into the future. We're getting insights from the future. It's getting very personal with a sextile over to the sun. So the sun gets the energy as an opportunity for the ego to feel the future. You can reinvent yourself. You can see insights into the future. So be on the lookout this week for that. It's not going to be the dominant energy, but it's there. So you got to look for it. And then we got that Pluto sextile Neptune I mentioned earlier. This is going to be there for another year and a half. Powerful, powerful dreams. So you've got some time foster that ability to recall your dreams, because they're going to be very powerful. They're going to show you how to use your power and what to control, that kind of thing. Saturday. Now we shift over to the grand water trine, and that's the moon again on one side of those. It's going to be feeling of the past as the moon transits over the south node. And so the past comes into it, and emotions are the past anyway, most of the time. The predominant nature of emotion is our connection to the past. So this is going to be a strong Scorpio. A lot of you are going to feel like you're drowning in emotion on Saturday the 9th. Dreams are going to come alive because we've got the grand water trine, and you got Neptune is one of them. So dreams come alive. That's going to open up another portal into the Pluto power grid for your dreams, and then ego. So Cancer ego is, caring, nurturing, but feeling vulnerable, weak, and unprotected. So it needs to protect self. That's part of this grand water trine. Look for spiritual insights, deep emotional experiences with moon and Scorpio over the south node. Look into the past. The nature of dreams is past as well, unless they're prophetic, which is what this one is. Powerful dreams is the sextile. If it's past-oriented dream, you're in the grand water trine. It's future-oriented dream, there's a big chance that you've got a Pluto sextile Neptune dream. And that's the ones to really pay attention to, although all of them are going to be helpful. My point was, as I mentioned, I don't know if I finished that, but the point is you've got a year and a half to really check this sextile out and use it for your advantage. And so you have to remember your dreams. So work on dream recall and work on a dream journal, and so that you can just get in the practice of getting your dreams down. These opportunities are going to be there for quite some time, but some of you don't recall dreams, so work on that is my suggestion. Although you want to know something, you don't need to remember your dreams to get the benefit from them, but it's going to be at a subconscious level. So when you are conscious and aware of them, it gives you a much more powerful way to work with them and use them for benefit in your life of all kinds. Problem solving, prophetic dreams, interpersonal dreams, how to handle problems in work, etc. All right, Sunday the 10th. We have Mercury starting its combust, and it's going to go exact. I don't know yet if we're looking at a cazimi, so I don't know the elevation yet. I haven't looked at that, but we definitely have a combust here, which means that they get within an 8-degree orb. And when that happens, Mercury gets weaker, mind, thoughts, travel gets dicier. So pay attention more, but it takes more effort to do that. And you've got a square over to Jupiter. So things are really feeling down and out and very vulnerable for the thoughts and logic. But pessimism is aging out. So you've got Mercury at 11 degrees, Jupiter at 8 degrees. So this is aging out pretty quickly, and that's nice. Then you've got Venus square Neptune. This puts a lot of pressure on dreams and fantasy in terms of relationships, and vice versa. Relationships are going to put a pressure on your dreams. It works both ways with these squares. And then the Saturn is going to help offer easy access to reality, like I talked about before. That's at 3 degrees, 3 of a trine. So you're going to, maybe it's easy to feel some chiseling, some hardship, some expectations that are minimalistic in nature or force you to be more minimal, and sort of raw. So you see this reality coming in with your relationships. There's not a lot of superficiality with Saturn. Monday the 11th, just looking at where we are, we've got Sun trine Neptune, which is a new one we haven't talked about. We do have a T-square on dreams. This is a heavy focus on dreams. And it's a pressure to dream, pressure to fantasize, pressure to carry out, pressure to figure out if my fantasy is real or not, pressure to stay or not in the fantasy. On Tuesday, you've got a weakened mind with only 5 degrees between Mercury and Sun. So any potential Cazimi is going to be in our next CIRF report, because on Wednesday, we got this big, powerful, and that's literally, it's a powerful, full moon, powerful in that you've got Pluto in a conjunction, making it very powerful, make it very controlling. And you've got a Capricorn moon and Pluto putting goals on things. So much is just kind of that pursuit, is wanting to control something, wanting power and dominion over something. And you know what? People who already have that energy anyway, the narcissists, the psychopaths, they're going to want even more control. And so they also know that full moon, they pay attention to the stars as well, or a lot of them do. And so they know that the energy of the full moon is drawing out. So they're hoping that people give up their power so that they can take more. And they know this. So I would be watching out for that. It's not a time to give up your power necessarily. Maybe it's time, because we can sacrifice things in the full moon. It's a great time to do that, particularly on things that you don't want. And so in this case, you could be giving up the areas of that you're trying to control that you can't control. That would be a good time to maybe sacrifice those things. Like giving up the things that you can't control so that you don't have to stress about them so much and worry about more of your domain is one option here in the ceremony. If you have a ceremony of a full moon, that would be a really good option. Now, like I mentioned before, Venus is here in Gemini with a trine down to Saturn. We're actually going to put that into the rave, but it's associated with, the Venus is directly associated with this full powerful moon because it's got an inconjunct over to Venus. And what that means is they're adjusting to each other. So which one's more powerful? Well, they work together, and they work together to adjust each other. Your relationships are a definite factor in how you emotionally handle power and control, and what goals you're going to achieve there. And vice versa. This goal-oriented power and control is undoubtedly going to make your relationships adjust. And then you've got Saturn that's just getting rid of all the frills and introducing challenges so that you can easily see what's real about your relationships. It's getting real relationships. So into the rave, we've got the full moon, and we're also going to plot Venus because of the I-Ching. Watch this. I'm going to put both of these together. First, the influence, and see how gathering together, the image of gathering together is everybody getting together, like, let me be a festival or a riot or a revolution, doesn't really matter. They call it a rally here. The power of gathering together, the power of gathering together, that's Pluto, is represented by a rally. So that's why that helped me to realize that Venus is a very strong influence in this full moon layout. And particularly because that Venus has a strong alignment all week. All right. The power of gathering together is represented by a rally, where each individual strength is magnified by the collective power of a community. So the power is transitioned not for an individual, but for a group of people. This reading may be pointed to an auspicious time for large group events or undertakings. Interesting. Another image is that a lake or a basin filling with water, just as the fullness of a lake can bring good fortune in all its realm, it can also overflow, leading to disaster. So are we looking for a disaster? Too many good things happening into the lake? In a time of gathering together, it's essential that precautions against unforeseen dangers be considered. So we have some trepidation here in this I-Ching reading. It doesn't mean that something bad's going to happen, but it does sort of point to something that's causing the groups to be gathering. Any time of gathering together is a time of potentially great power. Thinking Moon conjunct Pluto, everything is magnified when masses of people together for a single purpose. And then line 4 basically just says play your part in the leadership. It doesn't mean you have to be a leadership. It's just play your part. If you're a follower, be a good follower. If you're a leader, be a good leader. Play your part with discretion and respect. And then get this. When you put the change line in, you get holding together. Wow. And then it just so happened that, well, I can't move my camera. I tried to set up the other camera because I was going to shine it on my t-shirt, which said United We Stand. United We Stand, which is gathering together and holding together. So this is the solution now. Holding together produces success. High-level teamwork is achieved when right players on the right team share a clear goal at the right time. All successful teams have a shared vision and a good leader. There's the leader again. But so it's basically, in order to hold together, you have to have the will to be together. The will to hold together is going to be through a vision, a shared vision, a strong vision, and a good, strong leader as well. What else was I going to say here? So in overview, the influence of holding together, or gathering together and then holding together seem like the same thing. They sort of sound like the same thing, but the minute difference is something appears to be causing the gathering of the people. It's like a rally. It is a shared vision, but there's something causing these people to get together. Or it might even be the act of getting together causes disaster. So that sort of that thing of gaining power. That's the activity here, and then the holding together is teamwork. That's the secret here. I know it sounds like the same thing, but the previous one is more of cause and effect, and this one is you have it now. You're maintaining it. And, like holding the line or achieving everything as a group. All right. Now, I put this into the rave. For you long-term surfers know that we have this conversion chart where we put the tropical astrology in, find the dominant energy, and then we can plot the rave mandala from human design, and we can plot the sidereal astrology. That's where you go out into the night sky, stand on the earth, look up, and you will see the full moon. Well, if you're in the southern hemisphere, you'll see the moon if you're over in the east, you will see the moon in. Okay, if you're in the eastern part of the world, we're looking on the other side, the opposite side of the world as America. Then you're going to see the full moon in Sagittarius, not Capricorn. So Capricorn is the energy of the full moon, the tropical influence, and sidereal Sagittarius is the solution or the behaviors that are recommended for this time period with that energy. So we have hexagram 61, and then I want to also throw in, because of the I-Ching with this insistence on togetherness, we're going to plot this in conjunct with Venus, and that's going to be hexagram 12 because it's a powerful influence all week, but it's also a very major part of the full moon. So on 61, this is where the moon is. Moon is at 21 Capricorn, 21 minutes. 2121. That is really interesting. That's 3-3, right? And it's the occult knowledge. By the way, 3 and 3, add them up, that's 6. So I'm not a big numerology guy, but that's occult knowledge. I find that interesting. A natural psychic awareness that empowers principles of universalization, the pressure to know the mysteries through esoterics. So we got that with the full moon. And then with the Venus at 24 degrees of Gemini, we have the recognition of inadequacies and the purging of unjustified vanities. That's a long way of saying that it's Venus ends up in a hexagram on the rave that agrees with and matches perfectly with Saturn. Saturn is going to get rid of vanities and superficialities and get to the raw realness of relationship. All right, you ready for the summary slide? There we go. Let's zoom in and we see, the psychopaths wanting more control. And you can see that being done by yelling, screaming, guilt tripping, all the different manipulative influences. Remember, they recognize that the influence of the full moon is to pull. And what is it pulling? It's pulling power from you this go around. So it'd be a good time to get rid of your attempts at powering things and controlling things that don't matter or you can't control. And you can give that up, but don't give up your inherent power, right? Recognize that it's pulling on your power. And then, so here's the overview. Unexpected event happens to bring people together, or large gatherings take place, or both. People exhibit unpredictable but controlling behaviors due to the full moon and Pluto, but groups of people find ease in achieving great power when forming common goals. So you need to include that Venus aspect to get the most out of this week, which means together with others, which means shared vision, same goals, which means you need to have a strong leader. And that agrees with the I-Ching 8. And then we've got the Venus aspect is going to be purging unjustified vanities, while the full moon unlocks occult knowledge or natural psychic awareness that empowers principles of universalization. And that's not just for the full moon, but it's also part of the grand water trine. You're going to get this thing as a possible preliminary a couple days before the full moon. So here we go. The I-Ching's obvious focus this week is in the interpersonal spectrum. You may primarily just feel the group energy, complete with its common goal and resulting momentum, or you may be called to be a part of it, i.e. physically, like out in it. This interpersonal synergy is important for us because of the unpredictable nature of the full moon energy. Holding together is aided by the powerful Venus alignment with stern Saturn all week. And the rave said that this will purge collective vanities and unlock valuable hidden universal knowledge to us. The superficiality of Sagittarius, this is our sidereal zodiacal sign. Sagittarius, normally a detriment with superficiality, is actually a valuable trait this week in order to sift through the vanities to get towards much higher, freer, more optimistic Sagittarius realms of existence. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's, let me see if I can say it in a different way. So you've got Saturn stripping away vanities and superficialities from Venus, or our relationships. So you're going to see what's just raw and real. And Sagittarius naturally does live in the superficial world in terms of interpersonal, and that's one of its sort of detriments. But that's so that Sagittarius can go off and do its spiritual stuff too. It's optimistic, it's wise. It doesn't want to be tied down. It just wants to go higher and freer and more optimistic. And so you can. Now that, Saturn is even helping us do that. It feels challenging to the relationships, don't get me wrong. But the gift is it'll strip away what's like vain and superficial, but unimportant. You're going to get to the importance of the raw truth this week with relationships. Remember that Uranus and North Node continue tightening, and that powerful karmic energy refines your unique individual path, even while doing your best this week to hold together. Sounds more ironic, doesn't it, that you're going to be expected to hold together, but while you're doing that, you're defining and becoming aware of your individual path and your uniqueness. All right, so what I'm going to use this week is I hold the line together with my strong brothers and sisters. And I might even just refine it to we hold the line. Okay. All right. This is going to be an interesting week, I think. Everything seems to be deteriorating in the world around us. While the world burns, let's hold together. How about that? And we will see you next week, still hungover from that full moon that's going to be taking place on that Wednesday. All right, everybody, you take care, stay strong, and hold the line. Cheers.